he's out.
Yeah.
She's doing it on her own, their own team. Her own team had to go back and put his parts back in.
Oh, my God.
Because it was that bad.
The patriarchy strikes again.
We could solve this on Judge Judy.
Do you have any idea how bad it must be if people want to see more of Baldoni than Blake Lively?
I know.
Yeah.
You have what we call the Blake Lively grace period.
Right.
Because it's Blake Lively. And this is the first of new installments. Many of you have been asking for the half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond.
Not very many.
He hasn't been here in a while. And this is a cultural story that has taken the world by storm. By that, I mean, some people care. Everyone kind of knows what game is being played with Blake Lively. And, sorry, I have the hiccups here. Blake Lively.
Are you drunk?
Justin Baldoni. No, this is Topo Chico in there. I don't know if I'm allowed to
Topo
name it.
Chico?
It stays fizzy like 2 days later if you leave it in the fridge. So this is kind of a latest iteration of Me Too and elites in Hollywood and crummy lawyers getting involved, but it does have ramifications. So let's take a look, for those who have missed it, a brief montage before we bring on a half-Asian lawyer.
For its star, Blake Lively, it should have been a dream come true. The mainstream success that she'd been chasing for years that would finally elevate her into the ranks of the Hollywood A-lists. Unfortunately, that dream soon turned into a nightmare of multi-million-dollar lawsuits and bitter PR warfare that would destroy careers and pull in some of the biggest names in Hollywood.
Actor-director Justin Baldoni is now suing his former co-star Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds, seeking more than $400 million in damages, accusing them of defamation and extortion.
Blake going scorched earth, adding 48 pages to her lawsuit.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds filed an amended version of their complaint. Eva Pilgrim has the details, including claims that other women on set raised concerns about Justin Baldoni.
Are you Team Blake or Team Justin?
That's uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little bit.
So here to discuss this is my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond. Put on the speaker. Billy, put on the speaker. Sorry, you just heard me. Put on the speaker, please, because Bill, half-Asian Bill. And by the way, he does have his own show podcast, Hardly Legal, on YouTube. He is Kim Jong-Bill on Instagram, which always instills confidence when I do that.
Best part, it's not even being Korean, right? It throws people off, throws their scent off.
I know. One time I was calling you about some cases, and you're like, hold on, I got to go do a set. I'm like, what, you're doing stand-up? Shouldn't you be prepping case files?
Yes. You could do both, right? Sometimes they're funny.
And what do you do? What is your show on is it where you actually have people call in?
Yeah, so we have an anonymous, real Americans with real legal issues call in anonymously. Myself and my co-hosts both are attorneys and do stand-up, and then we have comedians in third chair, and we have other guests as well. But we're really helping people who wouldn't have access to the legal system to talk through their issues. We'll help them find attorneys, so we're not actually representing them, but we're going through their legal issues and laughing along the way.
Oh, good. That is it's kind of like Loveline, but with retainers.
Definitely the inspiration. Yes.
So let's get to this Blake Lively and Baldoni, right? That's the I always get us kind of walk us through the timeline. So there's this. It ends with us film, right? Well,
correct.
To set the stage. She claimed she was made uncomfortable. It's a sexual harassment lawsuit. She's obviously the wife of Ryan Reynolds. And then it turns out that what we were told was not exactly accurate.
That's a fair summation of it. So the book itself is about domestic violence, right? And so the original Baldoni idea was to take this to support folks who are actually dealing with these issues, right? The true victims who have been in these situations. Make this book, make this movie, bring on a star of incredible quality. They felt so lucky to be able to get a star of Blake Lively's, height and fame and voice to be able to be a part of it.
I don't know. I saw The Shallows. I know she unzipped that wetsuit.
Right.
Remember that was one of those things. The wetsuit, just like, this is how I wear my wetsuit. I don't have time to zip it up to the top.
I mean, I feel like there was times where essentially when she was taking control of this movie, rewriting, doing all these things, eventually did her own edit where she just pushed Baldoni out entirely.
Yeah.
But the craziest part about this is now coming back afterwards and alleging sexual harassment, retaliation. It's a superstar. Her and her husband together worth over $500 million.
Yeah.
And getting every single thing that she wants the entire time. And then when there's a backlash over how she promotes the movie, the fact that she was flippant about domestic violence.
Yeah.
And that public backlash is what drove her to go file a complaint, file a lawsuit. And now we've got multiple lawsuits, hundreds of millions of dollars on both sides are being asked for. It's a mess.
And a lot of video. I think she got a little too confident after she outswam a great white shark. That's what happened in the shallows.
Happen to anybody.
She beat the shark by swimming faster than it and deking it into rebar. That's how it. Spoiler alert! It sucks.
I mean, who wouldn't feel confident after that, right? But it's a false confidence.
She literally grabs a chain that pulls her to the bottom of the ocean where a great white can't catch her. And then last minute, she's like, yeah, great white, I got you, bitch. Boom! And she moves and the shark swims into rebar. I'm like, this? Really? It was more realistic when they lit the shark on fire in Jaws, whatever.
Yeah, that's why I haven't seen a movie in 20 years, but go ahead.
I tell you, 57 meters down was good, but don't go see The Shallows. Wetsuit's nice. Now,
what's it called?
The Shallows. It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it, Nick. No. You would hate it. And
Do they show her ass or anything?
Well, she's in a wetsuit.
No, that's not enough. I'm not going.
So here's the thing. Blake Lively, too, and something that is important. This is something we've seen time and time again with these lawsuits. Not everyone has video evidence, right? Not everyone gets to go through the receipts. An accusation made is enough to destroy someone's career. I think that she wasn't so much thinking through all of the legal challenges, the proceedings. She knew that the PR battle was just as big as the legal battle. And I mean, you have plenty of people who don't realize this. You just have plenty of cases out there where women have gone out publicly and claimed domestic abuse and then under oath said, well, that never happened. You can say one thing publicly and say one thing in court.
Well, sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's insinuated, but either way, it's not the story that actually comes out in the legal pleadings, much less with the evidence. And here, after the very first lawsuit that was filed, that Blake Lively filed, the response by Baldoni's counterclaim, or really it was a separate lawsuit and now they're combined, was let's show the receipts. So half of it is just text message, showing where the evidence that Lively was referring to was selectively edited in order to change the meaning of the communications to make Baldoni look bad. And it's like, look, if you've got to selectively edit the evidence in the beginning, it's generally not going to get better.
That's a really bad sign, I hear.
It's a really bad sign. I mean, you can have things that are presented to the public that they go, well, yeah, this isn't admissible. This is tampered with.
Yeah.
But you still have people out there who believe that Amber Heard was, my God, the victim. Do you know that?
I know.
There's an entire contingency of people who think that Johnny Depp tricked folks.
Or that Trevor Bauer actually beat some girl.
And raped her.
Well, yeah, that's what 70 years of feminism has done.
Yep.
Well, there's also the first mover issue, right? People, the recency bias, people or primacy bias, they're going to go, well, this is what I heard, and then they never want to get into the weeds of it. I mean, these pleadings, some of them are 179 pages long, just not even the evidence, just the actual lawsuit itself, and then the counter lawsuit's another almost 200 pages, right? In order to get out the facts and evidence. And most folks are not even, I saw a show the other day, they were like, we read 40 pages, and then we're just going to rely on the rest of you to read it.
Yes.
Right.
You know? And it's like, no, you got to actually dig into it if you want to know the truth. But her actions have demonstrated, I'm going to get out there first, I'm going to destroy this guy, and then let's just see if he folds over, like he did actually during the course of the movie.
Well, yeah, I have some of her demands right here. Well, I mean, she demanded, to do her own wardrobe. She had Ryan Reynolds rewrite scenes. She commissioned her own cut of the film from the editor of Deadpool. She demanded and received an executive producer and PGA credit. And keep in mind, Baldoni he actually got the rights to this movie in 2019, and Blake Lively didn't sign on until 2023. He was a director as well, too, right?
Correct. Yeah, he had at least 2 movies before that,
Who's paying for this film?
Well, this guy, Baldoni, was a guy largely involved with it.
The budget was only
he was largely financed.
Yeah, it was $25 million, and it made $300-something million.
$351,
And she filed a sexual harassment suit against Baldoni. We'll get into the text and everything, because you always wonder, where's the turnover point where you love this guy and it's, oh, buddy, you're friends, to he's a monster. Well, the problem is then some video came out, Baldoni, from a specific instance where she talked about, I was made uncomfortable. He was kissing me. He was talking to me, when it wasn't necessary to do so. It was specifically of a scene where this couple are supposed to play a couple in love. They're dancing, and it's B-roll, so they're talking, right? So they're talking about what they want to do. And keep in mind, once this came out, people said, oh, wait a second, Blake Lively is bossing him around and trying to be the director. So she labeled this, what you're about to watch, as specifically one of those instances of sexual harassment.
I feel so nosy.
I know.
And
my nose is so big.
Yes.
So this is, again, all B-roll. She said that this was an instance where he made her uncomfortable.
Just gotta shut down. We gotta call
that he was overly sexual and inappropriate.
God.
Just kidding.
No, it's true. That's why we hired Denny Slate too. Our noses are.
Yeah, and she made a joke about his nose, and he says he was self-conscious about it. And by the way, he didn't make a big thing about the nose. He was just saying if we want to get mad about something, like
She
he
says you
your
should shut down for a month and get that taken care of.
I know.
Meaning, go under the knife and get your nose cut off, sir. It's too big.
Which is the one thing that makes me like her more.
I don't care.
Like, I don't care. I'm not bothered by it.
I
But she was like, he was completely. We have more footage too, where he's sitting there and she's like, I think of maybe rub your hand down my back. Oh, let's talk. He's like, I don't think we should be talking so much. She's like, I think we should be talking if we're in love. And it's like he's the director. There's nothing there that would suggest impropriety.
Right.
And you said she filed an amended suit that
Correct.
said what?
So essentially, it's just a bunch of rambling mess. They had a deadline that the judge said, if you're going to file something amended, I need you to do by this day. They wanted more time. The judge said, no, you've already filed this 200-page thing. If you're going to amend it, here you go. So they file it, and it doesn't have any additional substance. It's essentially unnamed people on the set, where, when, nobody knows, that said that Baldoni made them feel uncomfortable. Right? Which, you search the law. No uncomfortable standard there.
Yeah.
But even just some of these
Since when is everybody in the workplace uncomfortable? What do you think happens when Nick DiPaolo darkens the doorway, for crying out loud? Half the people scurry, and he's a sweetheart.
And they seek out that discomfort, right?
Yes, yeah.
They love it.
When Bill comes in and I have to relive my trauma from him being on the show every day.
Look, if your wife stopped texting me to come on the show, she's a real talent.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa.
What?
She never texts me,
She's
actually.
a lovely lady, Bill.
She does usually text me, but it's usually like, tell Gerald to fix his shirt.
Yeah, she also texts me that. And I'm like, I'm not even with them.
This would be like something like if you wear something like that. I usually be like, oh yeah, can you tell Gerald something? I'm like, oh yeah, I'll tell him. And then I usually forget.
She texts you guys. She calls me.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
Billy's like, wait, you guys, it's Teams with me.
we're making everyone uncomfortable in the work environment.
So uncomfortable.
I get voicemails.
And one of the examples too, you were just telling me this. One of the examples. First off, can we say that this is a film about spousal abuse?
Yes.
Right?
It's going to be uncomfortable. Sorry.
It's a feel-good hit, goddammit.
Well, but hold on. Now hold
in the Middle East.
Now hold on a second. Let me defend Lively for a second.
Okay.
She didn't actually read the book until late in the production, if at all. Literally multiple times, people are like, "Yeah, but you should read the book." So, one of the things.
Let me guess. She claimed she was dyslexic, something like that. They always have some victim to yeah, that's easy for you to say, non-dyslexic.
There wasn't even that.
No?
She didn't even have that part.
Oh, okay.
Literally, at one point, she Googled what is the hair color of the main character instead of just picking it up and reading it on page 4. Right?
Oh, wow.
What is going on?
like me.
So then it's changing everything about the story, rewriting it, taking it away, trying to essentially the cut. So remember, you just mentioned she hires her own editor.
Yeah.
That was Ryan Reynolds' buddy from one of his movies, right? They do their own cut. And demand after demand, if you don't let me do my cut, I'm not going to promote the movie. Okay, the movie's biggest star is not going to promote it. It's going to look terrible. Sony's like, just give it to her. Just fucking give it to her, right? And so they keep letting her do more and more and more. Yes.
Yeah.
They do an audience comparison, and her cut bombs.
Hers sucks.
Yeah, so bad that now Baldoni's not even in the movie. He's not doing the editing anymore. That whole period when you just edit the movie, he's out.
Yeah.
She's doing it on her own, their own team. Her own team had to go back and put his parts back in.
Oh my God.
Because it was that bad.
The patriarchy strikes again.
We could solve this on Judge Judy.
Do you have any idea how bad it must be if people want to see more of Baldoni than Blake Lively?
I know.
Yeah.
You have what we call the Blake Lively grace period.
Right.
Because it's Blake Lively. Oh, okay. And then the other thing too was she said that he made fun of her weight, not like she just said get that Shylock thing shot off. He was asking how much she weighed because he had to prepare for a stunt where he caught her, I think, in the movie.
Because he had perpetual back injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
So he literally asked their mutual trainer that she had introduced him to.
He didn't go to her and bitch, how much you weigh?
Yeah.
No, he went to the trainer, was like, hey, how much do I need to prepare for this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you would think someone who's done modeling and been in that world would know, okay, weight you're on screen, it matters, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to physical safety, and then, you got Ryan Reynolds coming in there, just lambasting him. I can't believe you'd ask about my wife's weight, blah, 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 blah. And then allegedly, Ryan Reynolds was telling his own agency, you guys are working with a sexual predator. Right? When even the lawsuit itself doesn't even rise to that level. The allegations in there, even if you believe Lively, don't get to that level. It's whatever good things came out of Me Too. The very small parts that came out of let's highlight real abuse. Yes, like Weinstein. they're being hijacked by someone who's claiming that she has no power. The irony here being she didn't even want to play the character with no power in the movie.
It's almost like a disgruntled employee who didn't want to do the job that they were hired to do, found out they weren't very good at it, ginned up a false sexual harassment claim to try and take down the employer who gave them that opportunity. Right, Gerald?
Seems about right.
Seems about right. Seems like that happens quite a bit. It's like, I don't get what I want.
Like it happens.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't get what I want. There'll be a New York Post article saying someone saw your balls. They did. Go watch the Terminator sketch where I appear naked in an alley.
Hey, this reminds me, not to get too in the legal, but, DePaulo did ask for an intimacy coordinator, just like Blake Lively did. Yeah. So just I want to tell you, you want to make sure to get one.
Is there a scene we're filming that I don't know about?
Yeah.
Well, is it James Carville?
Yeah, actually.
Give me Basic Instinct with James Carville. Hold on one second. I got to cross my leg.
No.
I could have got an intimacy coordinator.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wait, you guys are getting paid? Yeah.
Yeah, the pedophile Baloo sketch was very uncomfortable. A
little bit.
Yeah, but we went in and they're like, well, you'll be straddling Baloo. I'm Baloo.
I said, you're fucking kidding me.
I was like, can you get Toolman at like a board? Because it's great. Like, he can just sit right next to me. He doesn't actually have to be sitting on Baloo.
Yeah, that's coming in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I just want Bernie Sanders to be the intimacy coordinator for a remake of the piano penis playing.
Touch her tit!
Wait, what?
Flick it! They like it! Not a ham radio!
Or flick less turn.
What is she hoping to accomplish here? Because like you said, she's the one with all the power. She's the one with Ryan Reynolds, who's probably at the peak of his popularity or very close to it.
Very close.
He's very well loved in the public.
Yeah.
Right.
People, I don't know if that's deserved or not, but in the public, people loved him. And now all of a sudden, she's filing this lawsuit. It doesn't seem like there's any merit there. He's filing a counterclaim. Well, what did she hope to gain?
I'll tell you exactly, and then I want you to answer.
Yeah.
She publicly claim victim status, patriarchy, throw in a little bit of sexual harassment or abuse, and profit. And then try and get some ownership, try and get some back end, try and get some points.
Is it going to look worse now for her, though?
She didn't think that far because she saw women being immune for so long. You have so many false claims out there.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
You're attributing reasonableness and rationality to a situation that has constantly demonstrated the opposite.
Yeah.
So she came in with, let's get a little in the weeds here.
I thought you were going to go Jack Nicholson. I think of a man.
Yes. Remove all reason and accountability.
Yes. Okay. So she asked for a producer credit, and they said that's not your role here.
Right.
You're being the lead star, and you're going to get an executive producer credit.
Yeah.
Very shortly, and she's like, I'm going to run wardrobe. They're like, well, we have these people. She's like, no, I'm going to do it. They redid it. She didn't want to do it in the studio or wherever they were filming. She's like, bring it all to my house. They're like, fine, you're the star. We'll do it. But this grab, I mean, this is a classic. Give a mouse a cookie. He's going to want to fuck your wife. Like,
whoa! What happened to the glass of milk, Bill?
Yeah, no, we're way past that. All right, we're way past that. At some point, she's getting producer credit. She went in there and wanted a PGA mark.
I want that on my tombstone.
What is the PGA mark?
Give a mouse a cookie, you'll poke your wife.
I mean, that's the craziest
What's the PGA
part.
mark? Sorry, I don't know.
So it's the Producers Guild, I believe. But
Okay.
essentially, if you have a certain amount of role, you have to have like everyone on the show has to or in the film has to write in. And this is what she said. She was like, if you don't do this, any goodwill we had will be burned. And at this point, Baldoni and the studio, Wayfair, that's funding the movie, is completely sidelined. So she's telling Sony, go make them do this. And they eventually go, all right, I guess we have to do it. Because at the end of the day, they still want the movie out.
Yeah.
Right? And so
they want to make money.
For all these credit,
you keep looking at him. And your mic is over there.
Yeah. Sorry.
But then what happens is they want to avoid the bad,
Gerald.
They want to avoid the bad PR, and so okay, let's try and. It starts with they know they're going to try and make this go away quietly. Give me some points, give me some credits, I'll make some more money, and usually people are somewhat acquiescent. They're like, all right, it's not worth the problem. They do some calculations.
Like, F it, $400 million lawsuit.
Yeah, at a certain point, that's what happens.
Good for him. I mean, unless there's other facts, good for him.
Gerald, you're CEO, and Toolman, you've been here for a long enough time. How many times have you had, and by the way, in many generations, people who come into here and then say that they know how this show should be done and they want to change it.
Oh, yes.
And they get their gaggle and they threaten to walk. I mean, we had one person who said that I should be more like Bill O'Reilly and was furious. And I was like, I hate that son of a bitch. I think he sucks.
You've never watched this show?
I've never watched. He doesn't look out for the folks.
He doesn't.
And then the employees get disgruntled and like by any means necessary, or they say, I can do it. It happens all the time. I mean, you ever worked for a big company and people were fired with cause? You think those people are happy? Only these people have a national platform. Anywhere else, Blake Lively would have been terminated.
But here's the thing. She's publicly admitted in multiple interviews before this movie that she does this. She'll go in, sandbag about what role she really wants on behind the camera or in front of the camera, and then we'll do it. She said she did it on Gossip Girl. She said she poisoned the cast against someone and then realized, oh, I actually like this guy, and so then undid it over the course of the next couple seasons.
Wow.
She would go. She expressly said, "I'll go in and say, yeah, no creative, and then insert herself again." So this isn't some isolated incident.
No.
But it's really coming through. Like, it's shining through what the real story is, and she hasn't been thinking forward enough on what the public backlash that people would see through the bullshit allegations.
Yeah.
Because she's gotten the author now on her side. She's essentially the theory. This is, kind of some Reddit talk and whatnot, is that she's going to have the rights to be able to do any other follow-on movies from this author. And that Baldoni, who had been donating to domestic violence groups, had been supporting it, that all of those things got sidelined, and now it's just the Blake Lively show.
Well, there might be a reason that he had done that, because you said one of her complaints was he was harassing her when they were, was it in a car ride?
Multiple allegations of harassment. But yeah, they were together in a car ride, and he was telling about abuse that he had suffered, and her response was like, I don't want to hear about any abuse for anyone. You're on a domestic violence abuse movie.
Exactly. It's like going into Law and Order. It's like, if I have to hear about a lawyer one more time.
Yes, if I hear the dun-dun, I'm going to
lose my mind. But I bet you she called him a narcissist, right?
Probably,
it's like,
yes.
I don't want to hear about anyone else's abuse. What are you, a narcissist? You think I want to hear about? It's like, well, you don't want to hear about anyone's story? We need to do a better job of delineating now, and this is the Me Too era. Your words don't define you. Your actions define you. And then you need to actually be able to observe the actions. And part of that is in court, and part of that is a lifetime. But her saying something, it can't define this guy. And this guy doesn't, I don't know him. I'm sure he probably votes relatively left, Baldoni. I have no idea. But he certainly didn't sexually harass anybody. And you can read the text with Ryan Reynolds and him. Ryan Reynolds saying, thank you. What a heartfelt, generous message that you sent. We're so glad to be working with you. I mean, when you look back, it seems disingenuous. It seems sociopathic. And I want to get to we think that his claim, I think it's $400 million, a counterclaim, where we think this will line up. But I guess Ryan Reynolds addressed this situation on SNL 50 because, that's the perfect opportunity to make it about you.
Who else has a question?
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
It's funny.
Delivered perfectly. Oh, is that Tina Fey?
Whenever my wife is suing over sexual harassment, I like to script jokes.
Yeah.
And one of the most, poignant cultural zeitgeist moments of, late night TV that in recent history.
Did you know, sidetrack, did you notice that, actually Pops Crowder pointed this out, at the SNL 50, you know who wasn't there? Colin Quinn, David Spade, Dana Carvey, Dennis Miller, Jim Brewer, Joe Piscopo.
Yeah.
What do they all have
The only other person that would be an exception would be Bill Hader, and I don't know where he lines up, but now it makes me think that he might be less left than one would think. But what do they all have in common? Rob Schneider was there?
Yeah.
He'll show up anywhere you say his name. Except this show.
I know.
Remember, he's like, I have to help my kid with homework. And then he found out how many people were watching. He was like, oh, I got to get on. We're like, no, you missed it.
I sat behind him on a plane to New York when I went up there.
Oh, that's right.
But the thing is, Rob Schneider was there from an event the night before. He just
that's right.
hid under the bleachers and then popped up. Yes.
David Spade was also there.
He was there? David Spade was there?
Yeah.
That's right. Carvey wasn't there. Which, considering that they brought him back, to do things, it just was odd. There's a through line there. Okay, so $400 million counterclaim from Baldoni. What do you think? Do you think this is going to end up sort of falling somewhere in the middle of it? Do you think it's going to lean toward him? How much harder is it to sort of reach the threshold for a counterclaim?
So his counterclaim is centered around claims about being put in a false light, defamation, losing these economic opportunities because he was sidelined. The relationships that he was already had for this movie and future movies are all being destroyed because she's taken it all and run his name through the mud with these baseless allegations. Some of the allegations are actually true, but they're the ones that mean nothing, right? The facts of, yes, well, we were in this room And yes, you were breastfeeding, but you invited me there. Here's the text. And when I came in, I didn't know you were breastfeeding, so I awkwardly looked the other way.
Yeah.
Right? So, sure, yes, we were in the room together.
And by the way, most men wouldn't.
Most men wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
I'd grab the open one.
Why do you keep looking at Nikki? Hey, there's an extra one for me, right?
It's for my coffee.
So, the judge has consolidated the Lively suit and the Baldoni suit. They're both going after each other hardcore with these claims. She's got mainly the sexual harassment, then ties on a retaliation saying that he had done this political smear campaign when the reality is that she had already been doing it. Made his family and friends go to a basement during the premiere.
What?
Literally, you cannot be on the red carpet. When I come, you have to leave. Security shuffles him and his family down to a basement.
At this point, had the controversy already started? Is that why?
It hadn't even started at that point.
No.
That's the craziest part. These allegations all just pop up later. She sent these demands, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we need all these things, after the actor strike. And then would be on the private plane with him by himself, would be doing all this stuff, be sending nice messages, etc.
Yeah.
So the evidence doesn't actually add up, but you wouldn't get that from her complaint. So, Baldoni's got to file an answer here in a couple of weeks. He's going to file a motion to dismiss for sure on the claims and how a number of them are just on their face bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't meet the standard of the law to be able to even move forward. But the problem is he really has no other option.
Right.
Blake Lively could have just moved on, done other movies, and wrote about this in 10 years from now, and it would have been what it would have been, right?
Right.
But because she felt that short-sighted nature to go, I'm just going to smear this guy. Baldoni's a nobody.
Compared to
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
I had
right?
never heard of him until now.
Yeah.
Seems like a decent guy too, from what I've seen. He just seems like he's actually creating art. It's always the people like Blake Lively, well, I'm an artist. Really, Gossip Girl? Shut up. Okay? And your version of the edit sucked. You're not that. You're pretty. Okay, you're taking credit for God's work.
Well, only in L.A., Hollywood, could that weak argument, get traction like that.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, it's so funny when I just watched, like I said, that Blink Twice movie where they talk about all these sex cults and sexual abuse. It's like, do you guys understand? It's a thing, but only in Hollywood and D.C.
Yeah.
It's Epstein and Weinstein and P. Diddy. You guys want everyone else out there in middle America and the rest of the country to believe that there's a rape culture. It's you. You're the rape culture. Don't you get it? You're a hyper-sexualized culture that deals in flesh, and you want the rest of America to feel guilty about your sins. And so many women have jumped on this. I mean, I'm glad that it's been exposed because at least this guy has enough of a platform to do it right now. Do you think he's got to get something? There's got to be some merit to slander or libel.
So looking at the legal side of it, his allegations and the facts and the timeline that he's laid out, and let's just call them the receipts, right?
Right.
Are damning. They're damning for Lively. They're damning for Reynolds, right? His jumping in, his apparently rewriting key scenes on the script without having any of the legal documentation, which of course Sony was apoplectic about in the moment.
Right.
But even worse, the allegations that he's made, like getting him fired from his agency by alleging that he was a sexual predator, all of those different things have absolutely put Baldoni in a corner to where he has to defend himself. And after this most amended complaint, right, so the one that Lively filed, literally the collective response from the people who are even on Team Blake Lively were like, there wasn't really anything in here. This hasn't really done anything to answer the facts and timelines and evidence and receipts that came from Baldoni's side. Now, again, this is early in the case. These are initial pleadings. But this is not having the effect that Blake Lively thought it would have that came from that original New York Times where she leaked her California civil rights complaint to the New York Times and they published it because Baldoni's also sued the New York Times as well for about $250 million because of that. So.
Well, and I think, honestly, they should, Bill. We talked about this with the Trevor Bauer case and some of the other cases that came up that were obvious BS, where essentially what happened is, like you said, the first mover going out into the media and making a claim. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. Doesn't matter if it's even proven. In the case of Trevor Bauer, proven
to be false.
Right. Trevor Bauer was never brought back. He lost a $100 million contract. He was in Japan pitching, went into Mexico pitching. I think he got a tryout at some place because he kind of knew a guy who knew a guy kind of thing.
Sure.
Shouldn't there be some kind of legal, I guess, protection for men in this case to not be slandered or whatever, not be, lied about in the media? Because it doesn't, like, Baldoni could win. He could win hands down, running away with it. She could come out to be the most money-grubbing, whatever, worst person you could possibly imagine.
Already is.
He will never be able to work the same way he was again because people will think, oh, that's the guy that abused Blake Lively. They will never
There will
know
always
the
be a certain
truth.
subset of people who believe that.
Or here's the worst part about it is they'll go, Baldoni, I know you didn't do anything. I know you were good. But there's just this thing about you right now.
Yeah.
That's the
Lightning rod.
soft damage.
Yeah.
That's where people are just like, we're just going to pick someone else.
But doesn't either laws protecting or literally like you've got to pick, you just got to go for the next year. We are going to make it sting so effing bad that people will not use this tactic. Look, if you've been abused, file court documents.
Yeah.
Those things need to be, in my opinion, under seal or some kind of protection so that nobody can know about what's going on until a verdict is rendered.
Either that or all leading ladies look like Joy Behar, then it's
well,
that's true. That would be
takes care of itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, the balance here is having open courts, right? So, being able to shed light on it, what's happening, because some judges are corrupt and some judges are incompetent. And so people being able to say, hey, look, this problem is going. And those balancing of those rights is very difficult. But in this situation, right, there's a motion to dismiss. Well, that motion to dismiss isn't going to be filed for 3 months after the initial allegations came out in the lawsuit. Yeah. And so it really is incumbent on the courts to go in and enforce their own rules. Because when they come out with, imagine this whole lawsuit gets dismissed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a scathing, these have no basis, this is no evidence. But on top of that, it's he's awarded fees against her.
Yeah.
Right? There are sanctions against her because she's filed a bad faith pleading or, has made these allegations that ended up being completely specious. That's the closest thing you can come to balancing those rights so that it is trumpeted from the top.
Sanctions
she was
mean
wrong.
nothing.
I know.
Look, without getting into specifics, there have been many lawsuits.
Yes.
Where there's many lawsuits, so don't think you know which one. Where some people were sanctioned in court for destroying evidence, and the judge just basically said, "Don't do that anymore." It's like, well, it already happened.
No, but that's my point. The judge has to be the one that sends the message in our system.
But they don't do anything. When was the last time anyone actually faced serious consequences for perjury? When was the last time you saw that?
I mean, I saw one a couple of months ago, literally caused an entire law firm to blow up because one of the guys, this judge went just fucking apeshit and threw the book at him.
Well, hold on.
But it happens less than it should.
Hold on. Right. It made a law. See, this is the problem. It made a law firm that cares about this stuff, that heard about this stuff, that his reputation is based on this stuff, blow up.
Yep.
The judge coming out and saying all of that stuff wouldn't make the front page.
Yeah.
People would
it didn't make anywhere.
No, I mean, for Blake Lively, it wouldn't.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't unring the bell. So what I'm saying is you have got to make it so punishing. So like, the person, like if you accuse a guy of rape, and you do it falsely, and it's proven in a court of law, yep, you did it, you knew it, it was malicious, you get the same sentence he would have got. There you go. That takes care of it. You want to go and put a guy in prison for the rest of his life, not just ruin his reputation, but put him in prison, take away his freedom, not to mention his name. That's a freaking big deal. Hundreds of millions of dollars to Blake Lively. No actresses, by the way, ever again get to do this. It's a bad system. File your court documents. When you win, you get to come out and go on a victory tour, and you get to promote women's rights, and I would be supporting you after you win as well. 100%.
So I absolutely hate to agree with Gerald.
I know.
Right, yeah.
But his suggestion has precedent.
It does.
It does have precedent.
In what?
So
wait. I might be right.
You might be right, or your logic might be right.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Your reasoning might be semi-correct.
So, let's not get too legal. We'll just cover this very quickly.
Yeah.
In America, the default rule is that if you file a plaintiff's injury case or whatnot, you don't get your attorney's fees back, right? So that's why lawyers do it on contingency, and they have to kind of get a piece of whatever the damages they're able to prove. The British rule is loser pays.
Right.
So if you lose, you automatically have to pay, and the exception is that you wouldn't have to pay the loser, right? So essentially, the precedent that you're talking about is loser pays, but the penalty isn't pay the legal fees.
Right. No.
The penalty is you go to jail.
Yes.
Right? Or you have to deal with the problem.
And
right?
you make the bar really high to make sure you don't catch somebody up in it who just can't quite prove it. Like you make the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
But it's like, look, you've got to have justice when text messages come out for the Trevor Bauer accuser. I'm going to get that bag, takes pictures laughing next to him or smiling, completely not beat up, and then later releases these things through,
I think if you make the threshold, this is a verifiably false accusation,
Yes.
not like what we're talking about, for example, the claims like, it's tough to prove damages for Baldoni, or because that's really something like $400 million. Well, where do you pick it? You're saying, well, this movie made $300 million. I could have potentially made this with the rights with the author. So it's very hard to overcome that and prove damages.
Yeah.
So in other words, if they don't meet that threshold, it's not this, but someone saying he raped me, it's like, no, he didn't.
Right.
Yeah. he domestically abused me. No, he didn't. You get that sentence. Yeah, I think that where an actual accusation of a crime, let's start there.
Yeah. Well, and I was
knowingly false.
In this situation, for example, what would be the best way to get this message out, but also, kind of have a penalty for someone who did it, is you literally say she has to publicly apologize on her own social media.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's, again, not going to undo all of the heartache or get to every person, but that's the kind of thing. I mean, that's happened in other cases. I had a case where a guy was assaulted at a convention and ended up, because the allegations were so false about what happened, had to do an apology video. And that ended up largely fixing the issue, but did not completely. For years later, people were like, "Oh, I remember you did this terrible thing," and he's like, "No, I didn't. Look at the guy had to admit
but
it."
He's going to have to do that for the rest of his life, no matter what, because people do not read the follow-up. People read the story about abuse.
That's absolutely.
And I don't know. I don't really know how. Yeah, no. I mean, you could name.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, you could name a ton of these things. It's very frustrating for me. I have 3 sons.
And you mess around a lot.
Well, no. But somebody could,
well, considering the voicemails from his wife, I guess it's take a penny, leave a penny.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, somebody could just claim it and it wouldn't be true, but you live in a little bit of a public life to some small degree, and now you have to answer questions from your neighbors for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
People that know you.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, are you kidding?
How do you deal with those questions, Gerald?
Well, I say, listen, all of the allegations are true, especially about the...
Yeah, so, and they know what you're saying. Yeah, and then you go, sign here, please, because we are within 100 yards of a grade school.
That's right.
But yeah, we've been, I mean,
I know.
People don't realize it's one of the biggest line items. Bill, and we have other people, of course, Kinsey, they help. It's like all the time.
Oh, Bill knows. He gave me a really nice Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Just gave me,
No.
he just gave me a really nice gift.
He did.
I saw that.
No, it's a crazy thing because the cost is so much more, right? You can look at the line items, but the line item is not. It's the person who doesn't even choose to talk with you,
right?
Passes you over for an opportunity, not even when they know you didn't do anything wrong, because they could just choose someone who didn't have an allegation from a superstar couple.
You don't have to worry about it.
Who didn't have Taylor Swift. Who was using Taylor Swift as a cudgel to say, well, I don't know, I might not call Taylor Swift and get her song on the movie anymore.
Right.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
she did that?
Bitch! That's what she was threatening.
I did not know.
She was literally threatening that.
I feel a little bit honored that I have not followed this at all.
No,
I actually
Me
feel
too.
like, that's
I followed it and was like, she's lying, and then I just moved on.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw
Pretty
that
much.
the allegation.
I looked at the pictures and I just turned it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got his little picture book. He's like, oh, nice. Swimsuit. Ah.
If the claims were a pop-out, that'd be a little bit different.
It's a scratch and sniff.
It can be bought. Let's just put it that way.
All right.
Verdict.
All right, we're going to take some. You can stick around for chats if you want to, Bill, but it's hardly legal on YouTube, Kim Jong-Bill on Instagram. And also, it's available where audio podcasts are.
Yeah, Spotify, iTunes, etc. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Hardly _ legal.
We should just, maybe we could call in to get legal advice and save some money on his billable hours.
There we go.
Yeah, I won't tell you. There's a number of people who've called from the show. No, I'm kidding.
My name is Carl, Bill. I'm being sued by a transgender.
They're like, I haven't gotten a sketch in, and I want to know how I can force this sketch. It's really funny. And then they say it, and we're like, it's not funny. Fuck you.
This is based on reality. All right, we are going to go to Chat Thursday.
Chat.
Can't believe you.
All right. What?
Huh?
It's live.
I was muttering under my breath. I can't believe that Gerald was right.
Yeah.
It was the only thing I didn't want to happen today.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Bill and I love each other, but when we were on the show, we would mess around. We would kind of pick on each other a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since you've been on the show. So
yeah. Guess who turns on that foghorn every Thursday at 3 a.m. at your house?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate that. That's a long drive for you just to do that. It's very petty.
Yes, it is. It is. But unexpected.
No. You're committed, though.
He goes the extra mile.
Got that.
I won't get it. I almost. Okay. Hey, if you liked this video, you can comment or hit like. And you know what? Because you and I were a lot alike. Probably like dogs. I like dogs. If you like cats, I don't want you here. I'm not making videos for cat people. I told you, if you're a cat, I don't want you here. I'm not doing it. Not doing it for cat people. Dog person, click there. Cat person,